Ian, tell me about the Huskin Bee.
Why, you ain't never been down to the Huskin Bee, the finest old thing in 3 points?
No, it's all city slicking with me, with our fast cars and our fast ways, our red lights, our green lights, our concert halls, our breweries, our brick oven pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a pizza. Is that like a sandwich? That's like a oh my god!
It's like when you put tomato on bread and you go yum.
If anybody out there doesn't know, my idea of a country bumpkin is from the 40s, where it's like, oh, what's Italian food? I've never heard of that.
Mm.
Okay,
we're basically doing that Conan bit whenever he meets fucking. Oh my god, what's his name? He plays Kenneth in 30 Rock.
You
know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you mean. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah, that guy's funny.
Look it
up. For those who missed it, I should have hit recording earlier, but I learned a lot about fitness in the LGBTQ community and where that kind of all comes from and is.
And Chris apologizing and then patting himself on the back while apologizing. I don't know anyone else that's done that, Chris. That's amazing.
It's impressive.
It's an art. Genuine. It really is. It's tough. Because here's the thing, Nick. Because
it was about Ian and then it was about your journey
right.
working out. That's amazing.
That is right. The greatest compromises are when everyone feels good.
And then at another point, we learned a lot about the straights, and y'all are having a hard time of it. It's
a hard world out there, and I'm here to bring that out. Here to tell people, dating app's hard.
Yeah.
And we now know everyone hates it, so that's cool. And we keep doing it to ourselves because that's who we are.
It is nice in the way that. Can I ask you about this? I don't know if you've heard about this. This is a dating app thing, and then we'll segue into the show. I promise. But
I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't use dating apps. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, but I'm willing to answer any question.
One of my friends who is a lesbian dating in LA.
Got it.
He got onto this one. I think it's called Wordsly or something stupid. It's incredibly dumb.
I've heard that word before. Yeah.
And it's a dating app where you're not allowed to upload or share photos of any kind. You can only use text to do anything.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that you have more meaningful connections. Exactly. And
which sounds still gross to me.
My friend was saying a lot of lesbians in LA are on this one.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of more in their modality. It's a little more slow paced, so on and so forth. She had said that 2 weeks ago, and then I asked her about it more recently. It's oh, how's that Wordsly thing going? And she's like, it's some of the most disgusting. Can I tell you, without pictures, I've received some of the most disgusting descriptions of acts, unsolicited from other women. Oh my goodness. So yeah, everyone's having a hard time, guys. It sounds like dating apps are just no good at all.
We should go back to repression. I agree. This is getting out of hand. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of dating apps, we watch Furiosa, and that's like a dating app, and that no one really asked for it, and then it happened, and then we watched it.
It's like a dating app in that we matched a long time ago, and then we came around to it again way, way too late after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did watch that. War. Oh, what?
No, nothing. It's a bad joke. Go.
abort. That's.
I said because of the war.
Oh, okay. It was gonna start off as a good bit, I swear, but the second it came out, I'll tell you.
Hey, Furiosa, guys.
Furiosa.
is
what
a
did
movie.
we know about it before seeing this picture? I think that's how we like to begin these.
Well, we
these
did the
sorts
code
of,
open, which is the intro and the rising action. Yes, Ian.
Yep.
Everything we know about
Wow,
the piece
Chris,
going
doing
in.
your job.
That's right. So Nick, you get to go first.
Yes.
What'd you know,
I
Mr. Smart Guy?
Yeah.
Oh, big man, barrel-chested boy. What'd you have to say about Furiosa? Or what'd you know beforehand?
Are you good?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't know because you're. I thought you were still going.
No, the pause meant it's your turn. So,
Oh, sorry.
Because
there was like a mini pause before you said the next thing, so I was like, "Oh, are you doing the thing where like you interrupt?"
oh no,
being said.
yeah.
never.
You know what? Fair enough. I do that.
It's funny though.
Um,
It's a new form of comedy.
It's really not. Like it's. I am stealing that shit from you.
I'm
Because of the war.
Sorry.
Oh.
The war.
No. All
But
right.
yeah, going in, I knew that. I mean, all I knew was like the trailer.
Mhm.
That was. I mean, Furiosa trailer. First of all, it's like it's okay. I think it's okay as a trailer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
man. I get. Okay, so I talked about that with my sister once I finally forced her to watch like Fury Road.
Mhm.
Which is one, yeah, it's that thing we're doing for the now past decade or so, where take big like brand song, big song, and then slow it down for the trailer, right?
What was the song for this trailer?
To the
Just
man who
remind me?
sold the world.
Oh.
But it was
Okay.
done in like to sound like engine revving, which was kind of more unique than most.
Yeah.
However, like we talked about it when we watched Fury Road. Fury Road soundtrack is all heavy percussion rhythms, guitar, like butt guitar. What the fuck was that? Was that on my computer?
What happened?
Ignore that. I hope that didn't pick up on recording. I hope it did.
Was
Whatever.
it porn or oh?
No, it was
a
just the
pop-up.
it was the update. Yeah.
Oh.
Porn popped up.
So where it's like percussions, butt rock guitar, real grungy sounding stuff with like orchestral music to elevate it, right?
Oh.
So you could have done like a rock thing with heavy percussions like for the trailer, but no, we got to do the song with like weird cuts so that they're saying something witty for a few seconds.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Nick. Yeah, the trailer sucks. Like in hindsight. But yeah, what else did you know, Nick?
Did we know who was in it? Was that that was prominently featured early on?
Yeah,
I
we
didn't.
knew. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not saying I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Really? You didn't know? Okay, so they did announce Anna Taylor. Is Anna Taylor Joy?
Yeah.
Or Smith? I kept saying Smith at one point.
Yeah, from
It's
Queen's Gambit. Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Who?
And I knew like original cast members were going to show up. Was pretty much it.
Okay.
Right.
You knew a bunch of Australians were going to show up.
Yeah.
There were going to be some Aussies. Yeah.
There be some Aussies. What else did we know? That was pretty much. Well, Nick, you probably know that more than I do. Is that was originally supposed to be an anime. At some point, it took 9 years for whatever fucking reason. Even though Fury Road did super well. There was a comic. There was supposed to be at some point it was a stage play, which that was the crazy one to me when I heard it.
Yeah.
I have not played the Fury Road video game, even though I hear it's really good.
Mm.
You're not a fan.
Just I don't know if that hinted at anything almost a decade ago too. But Nick, what did you know about the anime? For
No, I talked about it before. Like I watched. I mean, I knew the director. Like he did a lot of stuff. Like I mean, that's why I recommended when we did the Fury Road episode. Talking about recommending his other works like Monte Cristo and all that. I mean, he's always been like a really out there director in general. I think he's always been good. He's always been like really interesting adaptations.
Yeah.
For novels and stuff. It's weird because like it's like you're genuinely rewarded if you know the material. So I can see why he was like they were really trying to make it work with Production IG to make Furiosa.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's all I knew about that going in. Other than that, the movie itself, I mean, yeah, the trailer, and then like I didn't know who else was in it besides the two main ones they show in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about it.
Got it. Ian, anything else you want to add to what we knew beforehand?
Anything else? I think I had known about what we just discussed.
Yeah. The
Other
fact that it
than
was going to
that,
be a prequel too.
it was going to be a prequel. We knew that there was an attempt to animate it. I actually did not know about the play thing. That is bananas.
That's crazy. I got to find that thing again.
I think that's it. I think that's everything I knew beforehand. I'm so excited to talk about this flick. Yeah.
All right, then let's get into the climax. Where we talk about it. Okay. I want to set the scene real quick.
Okay.
With me and Nick, because we went to go see this at a very special theater.
Oh.
In very special circumstances.
Oh.
One that extends beyond the dimensions we know of.
Oh.
The first dimension. The second dimension.
Okay.
The third dimension, which is everyone's familiarity. The fourth one.
Oh. Uh-huh.
But might I add, Ian, there is a next level, and in between. Between the fourth dimension and the fifth one.
Oh, wow.
A dimension of extremes. An X dimension, a 40X, if you will.
Oh, wow.
We saw this shit in 40X, man.
Wow, I thought you were going to say the Twilight Zone, guys. That was crazy. How much dimensions?
Saw this shit in 40X. So I think I told the story before where Fury Road, when it came out, 40X had just become a thing. And there was only like one theater in SoCal, at least that I can remember. And that was in downtown LA. And for those who live in SoCal area, that's a fucking drive to get.
And you're gonna have to pay to park. Wherever you go.
It's gonna suck to park. It's gonna suck to drive, no matter how close you are. No matter what the map says on your phone.
Yep.
So he just never did it. Yeah. I saw it like 4 times in theaters. So but I was like, oh, we're gonna do it this time. We're gonna do it. So we went to go see it at 40, and now there's more 40X theaters, but we went to go see it at 4DX. And let me tell you, that shit fucks. That it was so fucking okay. The short description for this, and Nick, if you got a better one, let me, or if you got one too, let me know. Feel free to interject. The way I describe it is, if you've ever been on the Indiana Jones ride.
Okay.
Disneyland.
Okay.
What if that, but 2.5 hours long, or 3 hours, because they do trailers beforehand.
No way.
3 hours, you're on that fucking ride.
Holy shit.
With the same level of intensity.
Wow.
Ian. Okay.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So, have you been to the Dolby Digital Experience at AMC?
I actually, gentlemen, I have been to the Dolby Digital Experience at AMC.
Okay, so do you remember? I don't know which version you've seen, but did they play the trailer, kind of advertising the Dolby Digital Experience beforehand, even though you're already in there?
Yes, they did. In fact, as a matter of fact, they did advertise the Dolby Digital Experience while I was there. Yeah.
And it's this amazing, like, masturbatory expression of it, where planets are colliding and colors are shooting off. And then there's one point where the screen goes black, and then words pop up on the screen with the big crescendo note that just says, "The screen is still on, motherfucker." It's getting like, and you were in for a ride, just to like justify the $25 you paid for that ticket.
Yes.
They do that too here in 40X, except your seats move with that trailer. So, first of all, you go in, the first things we notice is how kind of narrow the theater is. It's a lot smaller. It's not a big ass one. Right, Nick, you would say it's like a smaller theater?
Yeah, it's about average, yeah.
Yeah. So the seats are like, there are 4 seats to like a moving thing.
Okay.
But the whole floor, but yeah, all the seats move, but they're moving in sets of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And on the corners of the ceiling are like big wind turbines and lights and misters. And then you sit down and it's kind of a tight squeeze because you realize this is kind of like a amusement park ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a thing on your bottom right that says water on or off. And if you turn it off beforehand, it will turn back on. We found it out.
Oh.
It won't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So they play that thing, and it's some weird action sequence where dude's in a chair, like, and the action revolves around him staying in that chair.
Mm-hmm.
But then they get to the water bit, and the water intensity that shoots at you is like if someone's doing a spit take in your face. It's so much more water and so much higher pressure than you think it is. I think Nick and I both had to like clean our glasses like after.
That's very funny.
And there's a smellometer. There's a and then they play 2 trailers. Which, by the way, this sold me on one movie. I don't know if you know there's a movie coming out called Twisters.
Yes.
Which is a sequel to that movie I Never Shut Up About, Twister.
Yeah.
The one of the most American movies I've ever seen. It's made by a French guy, trying to do an American movie, and he fucking nails it.
He nailed it.
So they're doing that sequel, and then when the trailers are going on, the tornado's happening. Those wind turbines start going. Your seat starts like moving like a wave, and there's a misters going on, so it feels like you're in the store.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now I would. You've now sold me on this movie. If I could see it in 4DX, then I would watch this fucking film because I was just gonna wait. Like,
if you guys go do Twisters, I might join you for Twisters. That sounds really fun. Actually,
we should plan that. We should just we
let's
shouldn't talk about the movie. We should just talk about the experience of 4DX.
Oh yeah,
just shill it real quick.
Yeah, just shill it. Try to get sponsored. So that happens, and then we get a worse trailer with that prequel to A Quiet Place. It's like when it happens.
Yeah.
And the syncing up of like movement of the effects and everything sucks. At least for that trailer we were in.
Oh.
For instance, like there's a moment where the trailer's more or less done, the text is on screen, and then there's a flashbang that goes off and your chair's like Jolt. Oh yeah, there's lights pointing at you that will flash.
Okay.
like a fucking flashbang. And it caught us dying, Ian, Nick, and I were laughing so goddamn hard when those things started fucking moving.
Yeah,
we couldn't believe it. It's like if a 5-year-old had decided, "What if I watch movie but chair move?" And it's like something they would come up with.
Yeah.
Does it put you in mind of like Axe Cop? Like it's just saying yes to a 4-year-old over and over and over. Okay. Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. I do know when they make these. I heard when they make these things, they do have a guy who's like sitting watching the movie with it and like telling the engineer or whatever, the programmer, to fine tune it.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So that's good. So we're like fucking died. It was so violent, like the movement. Okay, a couple of examples. So when there's a water effect that will go off in front of you at any moment on screen, but you're watching Furiosa,
right?
In the Mad Max movie, you're like, what fucking water? Well, it's whenever someone gets a headshot.
Yeah.
And then it sprays water at you like someone's spitting through a straw. And then a little air canister goes off by your head and shoots like air at you. So you're like, oh, you got shot in the face or something.
Yes.
Oh, Ian, every time a car would turn, you would think, right, okay, let's say, we're looking at my hand here. Let's say the car takes a turn, it's going off the dune like that, right? Yeah. You would expect the chair to kind of move with it, like you're leaning with it.
Yeah.
Right, that seems reasonable. No, Ian, what the chairs do is they roll. They roll like that as the car's turning. You're like fucking shit. and, and Nick almost falls out of his chair.
Many
What
times.
one of the people we went with got like a real upset stomach because we got food. By the way, I would highly recommend don't get food if you're gonna
Yeah.
get on this fucking thing.
Yeah, there's no point.
You feel like you're burning calories. 1, 2, your stomach is gonna do somersaults. Like.
Yeah.
So you're rolling
They're-
like that as
yeah.
cars are turning, and then like when cars crash, you fucking feel it, Ian.
They like jerk you like a
Yeah, like and it shakes, like it doesn't just It's like leaning forward. It was awesome, dude. It was so fucking Ian, I think you would get a huge kick out of this, like in the same way Nick and I did.
That's so
I
funny.
mean, I'd love to go back for a 3DX. I've only done, I think maybe I have
4DX,
done
Ian,
more
there's
than
4
one.
dimensions.
4DX.
Yeah.
4DX. I went to see the very last. Oh shit! That's how I saw Scream. The last Scream.
Oh,
That
did you
was
really?
I did, gang. I saw the death of the franchise Scream get stabbed in 4DX, guys.
Is it good?
Yeah, was that worth it? Because I feel like a horror
Oof.
movie would be hit or miss.
Actually, I loved it a lot.
Okay.
I did. I mean, the number of times that they would use, and it's mostly a knife killer movie, so the
Yeah.
air is used kind of in like a little blade at your face or neck, and then
Oh,
like
that's kind of fun.
there's a splash of water that
Yeah,
like
that's dude spinning
that's
through a
fun.
straw.
Yes, exactly as you describe it. There's oh my god, yeah, I liked that flick. That was pretty good. They set a theater on fire, and like, yeah, I'm about it. They electrocute a guy with a TV again.
Yeah.
Call back to the first one.
hmm
And you get they send 4,000 volts through your body. It's so fun, guys. I loved it. No, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that, and the only other smells are like when dead bodies show up, they do the rotten fruit thing.
Okay.
So it smells like
Okay.
really putrid rotten fruit,
Okay.
which doesn't affect Nick or I that much since we both worked in kitchens.
Sure.
It's just like, well, we smelled worse. I know what
Right.
happens to that fruit after. Like,
Yeah.
it's been combined with a bunch of shit. It's rad, dude. Okay, as someone who just saw, like, last movie I saw in theater was Dune, and a buddy of mine bought me an IMAX ticket, 45 millimeter showing. Same
good.
price, same exact price. I would take 4DX any day of the week over that.
Really?
Oh, totally, easily.
100%. IMAX, the bigger the screen thing doesn't really affect me that often, right? To me, it's all about like color and sound, right?
Yeah.
That will. I don't give a shit how fucking big that thing is, right?
Right.
As long as it's decent. Like if I'm gonna watch a whole fucking movie on my phone, I don't want to be holding the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
But same price, I would take 4DX any day of the week. That shit rocked.
Okay.
It makes me kind of want to go back and take people to go experience Furiosa in 4DX.
Well, let's talk about Furiosa in 4 dimensions, guys.
Yes. So as we're talking about the movie, please keep in mind that Nick and I are rocking and rolling in our seats and almost falling off.
Yes.
Nick actually did almost fall off. Like he had to hold on to the seat.
Yep.
Like Nick, didn't you describe it as your arm was sore because you were holding on?
I was hanging on to my right armrest with both my arms wrapped around it, like a clingy cat to an owner, for dear life, the entire time. Because
funny, and then you can watch everyone else like almost fly off their seats too.
yeah, that's the fun part. Is like you turn and see other people about to fly off.
Yeah,
it's literally the Mr. Bean skit where he's in the theater, shooting water, lights flashing. You're holding your drink like your fucking equilibrium breaks. Like,
oh fuck you, Ian! You got to do it. You got to.
Just to see others, at the very least, yeah.
If you can, it is worth the $25.
So is the very first instance of this herky jerk gonna be the Ewok chase? I just think of that first motorcycle chase.
Is
It
the
made me
Ewok
think of
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, immediately you get hit with the smell for the forest.
right,
Yeah, the green place.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, because this is a very different movie than
Alright.
Fury Road.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
I was watching a review. Well, I guess it's a review in the sense, yeah, this is what their take was after watching a movie.
Mhm.
Nick Spheres used the word fable, and I think she's completely right.
Mm.
I see that.
Where it is, yeah, because it is a fable about Furiosa and her
Yep.
origin story, and it's told like that. The narrator is a man called the History Man, who we meet there, which is
Yes.
dude who has just tattoo definitions and memorized stories.
Yeah.
And things, memorized dictionaries, tales, and all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it does start with the chase scene
Yes.
where
Yes.
Furiosa, outsiders have found the green place, so she
Yes.
tries to cut their bikes to make it easier.
Mhm.
That's the way I interpret it, right? To make it easier for them to murder
Yes.
the people later.
Yeah.
And then we
Can
get a
have no witnesses of the
Yeah.
green place. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get a chase scene that lasts way longer than I thought it would
Yeah.
in that movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually astonished how far Furiosa's mom goes. Or how long we follow her, right? Before she
Mhm.
dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other surprising thing being Furiosa, only half of it is played by Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
And the other
Yeah.
is played by, oh my god, it's gonna upset me that I don't remember the child for the other half of the movie. And both I think do great throughout the film.
Yeah. They're both kind of smoldering is a word that comes to mind. There's a lot of intensity under the surface.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
An Alala Brownie or Brown, sorry, plays child teenage Furiosa.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's great. She's great through it. Yeah, so we get through that. I'm not gonna do a full play-by-play because this is a 2.5-hour movie.
You will, just hit the highlights. We meet Demented. What was
Dementis?
Dementis, Dr. Dementis.
Yeah.
Played by Chris.
Dr.
And
who also I think fucking kills it, dude.
Yeah.
In this movie, good God, he is a star for a reason. He has it all.
Yep.
I was watching his performance in the movie, and we can get more into the depths of it. I don't want to slow us down while we're just doing recap, but his performance reminded me of earlier parts of the franchise in some ways.
Yes.
I had a feeling that this guy was familiar with how things used to be in some way, or there's something else going on that he's had in his life that I never felt about when we get our second villain.
Well, Ian, they have the History Man.
That's true.
He has access to History Man. The first scene we see of Dementis is the History Man telling him a story.
This is true.
And it seems like he knows, he's familiar with that story, and they're memorizing it, which is why he has, I viewed it right, as his character, he has a lot more diction, right? He has a wider range of words, and uses those, and they're a lot more grandiose. He's using them almost theatrically.
Yes.
And that's where I think kind of the charisma, that's where the charisma stems from in his followers.
Yeah.
As well as, the situation in that world is you kind of have to team up with a bunch of people in order to survive.
Yeah.
But this being Mad Max, everyone is crazy.
Yes.
And no one knows what to do with their craziness.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then we'll get into how, because, we have to compare this to Fury Road at some point, because it is it's a prequel, it uses the name and all, and it's the same characters except Max.
Yes. The set man. Well, and then I have a character that I want to touch on that isn't Max. Also, I think you might know who I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get into this. That is his introduction once Furiosa has been brought to the camp.
Yeah.
With what I'm just gonna call the biker gang. I forget what the actual name is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
the Horde. Something.
Yeah, the Horde. I think it's like the Horde or something. But it's a
Yeah.
big biker gang.
Yeah.
And they get to there, and by the way, and the whole way through Furiosa is like, it is not a clean shot back there. There are fighting. It starts off with 3 kidnappers, narrows down to 1, and he barely makes it.
Yeah.
Like, he is holding on to his throat, like, when he enters.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, luckily they're not. Furiosa maintains muteness and doesn't give away the green place. The last kidnapper, dies before he can draw a map.
Yeah.
Because because of the infighting that was going on of like wanting to take credit. So it delays the information and allows Furiosa to kind of like get the jump on the dude.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Nick Spears pointed out something that, like, I just completely went over my head. Which is, she's called Furiosa in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and the logical thing would be like, she's called Furiosa because she's really good driving down the Fury Road. So they would just go, "Hey, you're a girl, Fury Road. You're Furiosa now." That's what that is. But it's weird. But also, like,
it's a fable.
It's a fable. It's being told, and yeah, Nick Spears points that out, and I think that's where I was like, the movie kind of really connected for me, or like it brought a lot of storytelling, like fucking techniques and tricks in that movie. To be like, oh yeah, no, that is what that is, because the history man's narrating. He's telling a tale, like.
And we can dig in on how the movie closes as well, because I think it's a good example of what we're talking about. But there's a handful of moments that are like illogical or inconsistent in the movie, like, but they make sense immediately when you're like, oh well, it's a fable, man. It's whatever is the most satisfying narrative thing to happen now is the thing that, it's not necessarily a history.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think the reality is that what you said is probably how Furiosa got her name. But yeah, in this telling, she was always Furiosa.
She was always Furiosa. It was always, she was always like ready to fight. So we get into that. The mother gets one last attempt to free Furiosa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like her bike is stolen of gas, and she's set on fire at some point while she's wearing that really cool fucking mask. It's made out of like human skulls, and it's not just one. It's obviously like a bunch put together.
Yeah.
To make a helmet. That's really rare. By the way, of course, this movie, like Fury Road, has some of the sickest, like, over the top costuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's one dude who I love, but he only wears the helmet like twice. Where he has those devil horns, those goat horns, spiraling up, and with the black mask and a veil when his mask is down. To the point where I'm like, dude, just keep the mask down. It looks so much fucking cooler what you are. like then whenever you take it off and it's just like face paint, right?
Corny, no.
But okay.
Was that the character, the Octo something?
Yeah, the dude with the 4 like AKs strapped to the front.
Yeah.
And the giant fan in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Furiosa's mom fails to bring back Furiosa, and she is crucified.
A flame.
Yeah. She loses. Wait, she burned alive, or do they like kind of dismember her first?
I think she's disemboweled over a fire.
That's right. It is like a full Pontius, like almost Pontius Pilate shit. Like like Spirit of Longinus kind of fucking deal.
Yeah. This is
Furiosa watches that, and then it cuts to the future where she's caged up. She has a muzzle,
Yes.
but her hair is there is dyed and like put with beads.
Yes.
As she watches another like drawn and quartering, but with motorcycles,
Who
which starts off as a fight to the death. Who can get a motorcycle first?
can join the gang? Who can join the horde?
Gang? And oh my god, some of those kills like they're so fucking like brutal. I like that the person who wins, she's like fucked up for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of like if we're sticking with. I mean, so the actual historical context would be like Viking tribes and how they would handle or Viking mercenary groups and how they would handle like newcomers, right?
Yeah.
To join, and like even if they hated the people, they would stick on because that's how you survive in that world.
Yeah.
And it's just a mutual like agreement because they're fierce warriors, but they do want to kill whoever the leader is. If you're looking for like a pop culture thing, I know they touch upon that Vinland Saga. Like I know that's how that starts. So there's that, which is what it reminds me of because she sticks with the tribe, like pretty much to the end of the movie.
Yeah, to the bitter end. She's very loyal to the gang.
Yeah. Even when he's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see that, and you're kind of just seeing like this awful world Furiosa's been trapped in. You get that great shot of the full motorcycle thing careening down like the canyon.
Yeah.
That's super fucking dope. As they finally make it to Immortan Joe's lair.
Yeah.
And they do just a big confrontation where he does like essentially a wrestling promo.
Yes.
There's very much like whenever Chris Hemsworth is talking, it reminds me so much of just wrestling. Like, right? Like the heel just talking and shit. Especially to an old mic.
Yes. Actually,
And you get that shot of the war boy just committing like or just killing himself.
A seppuku. Yeah.
And with explosive lances to it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's fucking rad.
And what's he called? The people eater? Like letting him know that any of them would gladly die for Immortan Joe.
Yeah, people eater. The guy in charge of accounting. Yeah, you get introduced to the old gang, get that great confrontation as they almost lose, like Furiosa and that.
Yes.
It's great. Like every time there's a scene, like there's always like there's so much suspense because there's people like barely making it by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah,
and people die like left and right every time there's confrontation.
Yes, yeah.
Except for like Furiosa, who you know's got to live, and then Chris Hemsworth,
who runs through the fray to pull her out of a hole. Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna make it real fast because I just want to talk about like the actual themes going on this week.
Okay.
Okay, so Furiosa is traded off to
Immortan Joe.
We're gonna come back to the scene because I think it's a very important scene for Chris Hemsworth's character and the way he views Furiosa. Dementis trades her so that his tribe so that the motorcycle gang can be in control of Gastown.
Yes.
Then we get like the nightmare fuel scenes of Furiosa being in with the rest of the women, the breeders,
and then sexually pursued by what is it? Erectus Mortis.
Yeah. It's Rectus is the dude with the hair. Erectus is the pedophile who we didn't know, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out.
And it's some like, and it is some nightmare fuel, but you get more of like Furiosa being a scrapper.
Yes.
The gluing the hair to the fucking, oh my god, that like doily that she keeps on.
Yeah,
it's such a fucking good idea. Like, and it plays off that weird thing that like of people playing with girls' hair, which is a whole fucking awful thing you can look into, which sucks.
Yeah.
and it's such a weird innocuous thing, and then until the more you think about it, and then you connect it all, and it's awful. Then like, so you get that, but she escapes and she hides as one of the war boys
Mhm.
and proves she's tougher than one of them, and like you can see her slowly climbing up the ranks.
Yeah.
Until she's finally allowed to be a mechanic on the war rig, the first war rig.
We get an amazing fight.
Which, yes, oh my god, that first war rig
Yeah.
looks so goddamn fucking cool, dude.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
fucking war machine. And we get introduced to, I forget his name now, but it's not Mad Max.
Yes, his name is. Hold on, I've got the list
Yeah,
right here. Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Burke.
Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Boyer. Okay, they call him something else in the credits. Like he has a name. It's like Ace Driver or something.
Oh, okay.
But Praetorian Jack. Wait, you sure? Hang on. Let me look at this.
Commander of the Citadel's first war rig is
Mm-hmm.
Praetorian Jack.
Praetorian Jack. Okay, got it. Maybe yeah, I was probably wrong then. I'll admit that. Praetorian Jack, and it's kind of weird because it looks like anyone who's the head driver, gets a Mad Max like jacket.
Yes,
which is pretty cool. Because now I just want one, and then. And then you get like a scene very reminiscent of them driving the war rig and fighting off. And yeah, of course, the question becomes, as Nick and I were talking about, like while watching this movie, how do you top that? Well, they fucking fly in this movie. It's insane, dude. When those parachutes first go off, like in that goddamn scene, and they're just flying and shooting, and you're like, holy goddamn shit! Like, yeah, they topped the pole vaulting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get the guy, fucking Scott, like flying a plane essentially with guns from his motorcycle.
Yes,
and it's so goddamn fucking cool. It's so goddamn good. That whole sequence, and it's great. It builds, it kills off everyone on that war rig, except the two, except Anna Taylor, Furiosa, and
Joe. Sorry.
Joe. Yeah,
Jack. Yeah,
Jack, the Victorian Jack. And it creates that relationship, and he is a weirdo in this movie because of how fucking down to earth he seems.
Who are we talking about?
Right, the driver, Praetorian Jack.
Oh yeah, yes.
Like he's weird. He's weird in this Mad Max universe because he's reasonable and like and seems like care. But it's love, as we find out.
Love.
Later.
Yeah.
And then we get the. Oh, God.
I was just gonna say, I think so much about his character is supposed to be like, again, thinking of what we're watching as being a story, being a second hand, third hand, fourth hand story. Like, that guy is like probably four guys in her life mushed together. That the storyteller is like, yeah, he was kind of like, yeah, she liked this guy, and there's like, I don't know, there's a handful of people kind of like that. But it doesn't matter. They don't.
The fact that he looks like Mad Max a lot,
and acts like he's got the jacket and all that. Like, yeah,
I think that lends credence. Okay, but for the sake of like this podcast, because I feel like that can open up in a whole can of worms.
Sure.
That we got to get into, which is how unreliable is narrating. Let's just keep it in the movie, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we get to that. We skip. They've done a bunch of runs. They've done them good. Yes, and then. Shit starts going bad because supplies are starting to run low on everyone. Feels like they're getting the short end of the stick, including the bullet farmers and especially Dementus's crew controlling gas M, which we get to them, and it's very bad. And he's very forthcoming about it, where it's like, hey, everyone feels shorted. We don't like this. It's not party time anymore. We're not getting enough supplies. And so that will eventually lead to them killing everyone at Bullet Farm or taking over Bullet Farm and jumping the war rig, which you get a great like sequence of that fight, and then eventually losing Praetorian Jack.
Yeah.
Which furthers Furiosa's lust for revenge. But it also causes a war party to start, and then I know I'm skipping a bunch of stuff, but we get that great cut of, and then the 40-day war happened.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty cool the way they did that.
Yeah.
Where it's just all these cuts to just crazy scenes. And then you get Furiosa like kind of commandeering a car to go visit the battlefield. And it starts, oh my god, it's such a good like panning shot with the car. As you get to the outskirts.
curve she takes through the bat.
Yeah. As like you start off on the outskirts of the battlefield and getting deeper and deeper in.
Yeah.
Just all these overturned cars and like dead bodies, and oh my god, it's just shot so well. Again, George Miller doing his fucking just being the king of like, you see a shot for a second and it's one of the most amazing things you've ever seen, and then we move on.
And the economy of the storytelling with those shots, you have so many shots like that where it's, oh well, I know who that is, like I've got a real idea of what's going on, what's in just a glimpse. Yeah, it's fantastic. George
Miller's very much like, one, he's an efficient storyteller, in that he tries to put as little details as you would need, right, to infer everything. He's very good at like how the human mind works with storytelling, and words, and also being like the movie's stacking upon itself, to lead to all build up to a certain thing. And then we get the final chase towards Dementis and his crew. They split up. Furiosa kills the other two before finding Dementis, and then we get the revenge thing, which is like, we'll get to the actual moral of the story, but I'll just or what I think the moral is. But we get her whole thing playing out, and an amazing monologue from Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Like, I know this shit ain't gonna be nominated for anything.
Well,
it might be maybe effects.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth deserves like an acknowledgement for that monologue. The way he acts out. Yeah. I think it's one of the best things I've seen him do.
It's really
I think
good.
This is one of the best characters or best performances I've seen him do. He loses himself in this.
Yeah.
And then we get the final revenge, which, if we're to believe the history man, is he is left barely alive, and a tree of fruit grows through him, which is the seed like Furiosa has been maintaining the entire time.
Yes.
And then we get the logical conclusion. It's a very good progression too. I feel like since it's a long movie, I'm kind of jumping all over to cut through, but there is this very logical line of reasoning to why she's helping the women escape. The Reed Farm. Yeah. But is there any other scenes I missed before we get into what we think this movie's getting at? Because I'm looking at the time.
No. I think we hit him.
Nick, anything? I know I went on talking for like a long time. So let me get some water before we get into
what we got out of it. Are we talking about what we got out of it quite yet?
I think so. It's going to be a weird transition. It's not going to be, like what we got out of it's usually like a one-liner, the lesson.
Sure.
But
let's dig into some of it. Yeah.
Let's get into kind of what they're talking about. The way I would want to approach it is looking at characters. How about you guys?
Yeah, let's start with Furiosa and kind of work out from there.
Got it.
Then.
Got it. Okay, so there's the two big ones I would want to talk about are like Furiosa and Dementis.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, this movie's like very reminiscent of the original Mad Max's, where there's a lot more dialogue than Fury Road, and kind of like politics, which is like you never expect it from the Mad Max movies, but that is what's going on. when they're talking about fuel and when they're talking about resources and all that.
Yeah.
And how to survive in that world. With the added fact of everyone's insane. But is it that different? Whatever. But yeah, we get into Furiosa. Ian, what do you want to say? Because I've been talking for a while.
Well, one of the first things that I'm thinking about when I think about Furiosa is she's kind of everything to everybody. I think that's a part of the character is her silence. Her silence is a big part of people projecting what they kind of think about her. And I'm fascinated with the idea of what are people's relationships with Furiosa. She only seems to really have like two nice ones in this movie, whereas every other relationship is like exploitative in some way. And I'm really interested in the relationship between her and Dementis because it's so troubling. He clearly thinks kind of fondly on what their dynamic was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's okay.
And then when she takes that teddy bear, like, is taking that teddy bear a sign of like, oh, my childhood was taken by you, or was it? Oh no, there were times between the dismemberment that I was enjoying myself as a child, or like what exactly? You know, I don't know. What do you think?
So I think there's a lot of like, and again, this is going to be coming from like a straight male perspective. I think there's a lot of like images of purity and like innocence as the child that's kind of forced upon her. Like she's not inherently innocent or pure. In fact, the first thing we get of her is eating like fruit, is taking fruit from like the green place and then cutting bike lines
with her teeth.
With her teeth and everything. She is a scrapper from birth.
Yeah.
Right? But she happens to live in a really good place, all things considering.
Yeah.
To probably as best as it can possibly get for someone like her. And it's all these weird images of purity and innocence thrusted upon her by like men, specifically like the male characters in power. Dementis especially, they dress her up in white. She has the red hair. They put gold rings in there. And then she's sold off literally like as the history man, a political marriage. Like
to blend the kingdoms, he says.
Yes.
And well, let me just throw out the obvious thing and we can move past it, because I definitely was thinking like, oh yeah, innocence, purity. Also, she's
but not of her own choice.
She's stolen from a garden after she has consumed fruit into just endless punishment. It is like scene after scene after scene of like, what other fucked up thing we do to this child?
Yeah, it's all these cruel things being just forced upon her.
Yeah.
No agency, right? Like for most of the movie, until when she finally takes it, it is that scrappiness we see.
Yeah.
All throughout. But again, it's kind of that thing you develop while living in that world.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely so.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot to say upon there that we can get like real deep in, but just for the sake of time, that's kind of like, I think that's the surface level stuff.
Okay.
Kind of going on there. Come back to me in like a year when I've really thought about it, and then I can get into it.
Nick, what do you think about the character of Furiosa thus far, or is there another point of the film that you're like, oh, that's telling on the character in some way?
Yeah, because I feel like we're especially talking about the first half.
Yep.
Unless Nick went AFK. I can't check the Discord because I see a message. I don't know if that's him.
Hold on, let me see.
Yeah. Because if I do it, it's gonna fuck up the recording.
All right. Then I'll continue to talk about Furiosa. No, so here's another thing that I thought was interesting is that every scene is kind of setting up another I guess domino for the ultimate payoff of Fury Road in a way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to know how, Furiosa learned how to do, combat on a moving vehicle. Here's her, kind of testing her mettle. I I think that one of the more interesting things is that her she is probably one of the few characters that's really compassionate, and
Who is?
she's Furiosa. Look,
Mhm.
she's kind of one of the few characters we get who's looking out for other people ultimately,
Yeah.
like, and then building to looking out for the brides, for the
Mm,
women trapped down there. Um,
yeah.
but
Which there are
I'm
enough. Oh, sorry. Let me just say
go
that
ahead.
real quick before. And there
Yeah.
are enough instances in the movie that like she has learned that from other things.
Hmm.
Obviously, her mom really
Yeah.
fucking loves her and cares for her.
Yeah.
Was willing to go that full length. And then two, you can assume like everyone else does because they let her mom go do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus like, well, we could just hope the child never talks type deal.
Exactly.
And then we get Pretorian Jack.
Yes.
So people in her
Who-
life who like good things in this world to look out for and love. The
Yes.
fruits and life in this world, right?
And I think that it's interesting that like Furiosa's entire character is kind of reflective of that environment she's been in. She is still desert-like. She is remote and harsh.
Yeah.
But she is still holding on to, like, I guess, that piece of the green place, that piece of like, we still can't be just like ghouls all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Which makes sense to where Furiosa is at the beginning of Fury Road.
yeah,
That one
yeah,
thing of hope.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you wanted to talk about Praetorian Jack since we mentioned him, right?
Yes, I just thought that was kind of an interesting choice. I thought I was kind of the whole time he was on the screen, I was just like, oh, it's like Mad Max, but not.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
it's not.
but it's not him. It's I don't understand why. Why?
Similar, but
It's
different.
very similar. Like, here's the thing, guys. As far as similarities
to
go,
the point where I thought they were retconning something
exactly
until they said his fucking name.
Yes, yes, and yeah, that was weird. I don't know. I think that was like one of the most wild bits, and it wasn't until I kind of came back and thought about it from, like you said, the perspective of it being a fable-like, being a story that's being passed along.
Yeah.
That kind
Which
of
would fit George Miller's style. Sorry, go ahead.
Within George Miller's style of telling this film. That okay, like I think around the time that we watch Chris die, like 5 different, like he gets shot in the head, he gets dragged by a truck,
yeah,
and then he has a beautiful tree grow through his body,
go through his dick.
Grows through his dick. It's a dick tree.
Yeah. A very specific choice.
The fruits, the loins of the fruits. It's all symbolic, guys. It's all a metaphor.
Yeah.
You just get.
I always viewed it as like you've only brought death in this world. Now you're gonna get. Now it's gonna be used for the thing it was meant for, which is life. But
yes.
Who knows? That. It's ambiguous. You can choose.
It's ambiguous. Like, I don't know. It's interesting just because Furiosa keeps having this Eve motif that came back at the beginning and the end, I think.
Yeah. And we
like,
can. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. This Eve motif going on, especially when the story is narrated by a male.
Yeah.
And like as I kind of established throughout like this podcast, which is all those like views of innocence and like purity and feminism and like not feminist feminine traits, like traditional feminine traits, those are all from the guys in power in that movie.
Yeah.
So like to some extent, and this is always the thing when you write a story, is like whoever's telling the story has a lot of fucking power about what's going on. If anything, like there's always that argument, like it's the closest you can get to playing God.
Yes.
Is that level, right?
And there's a great deal told by what you put in, and there's a great deal told by what you don't at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, every choice you make is like adding to that.
Yeah.
It's why I always think it's bullshit and like sad whenever someone says, "Oh, I'm not trying to come up with a message." I'm like, well, then why even fucking
What's the
say
point? What's the
anything?
point?
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Why fucking write? Except
I
for
mean,
what I can assume is a power trip. But like, but even that,
exactly.
whatever. That's a whole discussion me and Ian can go on about because that's like a viewpoint on writing.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. I do think that even if we'll just say it out loud. Even if you
Yeah.
don't have one, you have an opinion and it's going to come through.
It's gonna come out, man.
So the embarrassing thing for
Gonna
people
come
like
out.
that usually
Yeah.
is they write some shit and it's got like really troubling stuff in it and you're like, "Oh, that's kind of like dark, don't you
Yeah.
think?" Da-da-da. And he's like, "No, it's not like that at all. You're completely misunderstanding it." Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you better make sure it's good shit.
Yes.
Or at least shit
exactly.
you can stand by. I'll say
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
I'd rather have that than someone who like claims doesn't say anything. Whatever. Whole
Let's-
different discussion. But
Let's
that does
jump
lend.
into.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that does lend into the power the history man has.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we
Definitely
can
so.
see and we. I want this is going to be a good transition to Dementis, but if you want to still talk about Praetorian Jack, let me know.
Oh no, go ahead.
In Dementis, in viewpoints of the world and how you engage with it.
Yeah.
And we get into Dementis being a real good fucking interesting villain, especially in the Mad Max world. Like when we get a Morton Joe, and Morton Joe's like this warlord. And you can tell he's evil from the fucking get-go. He's withholding water from people. There's a warship deity quality, but it's with the water thing you can obviously tell it's only through resources. It's a very fascist like view of him, and that's kind of like shown through the uniform he keeps. It having medals in this wasteland, which who the fuck knows what those even mean, but they're there. They're there to tell you like a thing of status, especially in a wartime like thing. And the lengths people are going to keep him alive with the breathing apparatus and everything. And going to his way of life. And it just being a control over primary resources in that world that people have to flock to because that's what it is. That's the currency. That's the way.
And you also get this kind of journey, like Dementis has an actual journey. It's so funny to talk about characters with these names very seriously.
Oh, I love it. Oh my god, I love this shit, Ian. I love this shit so much. Go ahead.
He's got like an actual journey, an arc through the movie, though, wherein he's a bastard. And you know that because he's successful in a world that is so fucked up and terrible. He's a bastard. That's unquestionable. But he does kind of fancy himself like reasonable to a degree. Like a part of his big, WWE speech when he first comes upon Immortan space is to tell them, you are enslaved, you do not have a say, join the Horde, and you at least get to participate, kind of. Like, it's a different dynamic I can offer you. Or, trying to convince Furiosa that he's not the worst person in this afterscape. I do kind of think that there's a degree to which at least Dementis like full on kind of bought his own brand, I guess I would say.
Yeah, he bought his own bullshit.
He bought it. He bought his own. He bought his own shit,
and he fucking pays for it, as we'll get into.
And he doesn't want to square up when when his actions don't actually match his value.
Yeah,
which is when whatever Octorus or whatever his face is like, you fucking scum, Dementis.
Yeah, you're scum, Dementis.
You killed your own guy. Yeah, you killed your own guy. You're fucking scum.
Yeah.
And he really, and I think that he genuinely isn't able to like fuck with that idea totally. Like like accept it, absorb it. Like no. I'm still me. I'm still cool. Like I'm not shitty for killing one of my dudes to save everybody. You find ways of justifying it, and I think that even up to the very end when he has that beautiful monologue with an adult Furiosa, you get like God, there's so much in this guy that
Yeah.
I at least me, I got the sense that like, and maybe I'm reading into it too much. Tell me if this is wild, but like, because first Mad Max, you had a lot more kind of vision of the before the bombs
Yeah.
world. And I was kind of picturing him as, oh, he's one of those dudes. He had like a normal thing going on, and then he was like, well, I don't want to die, and I'm just gonna keep doing the next thing that keeps me alive, and that got me fucking here, I guess. I don't know what you think. Like, I definitely got this sense that, oh man, he's really pining for the simplicity of something.
Yeah.
Something that he has lost.
So the way I view it,
yeah.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
Dementis is a party boy.
Oh, okay.
He is following the next thing that'll make him feel something in this world.
Yeah.
He's empty. Yeah. He needs constant things happening and intake of it. And him having the history man, yeah, it's just that. There's always something in his ear playing.
Yeah.
Which are those stories and all that. Which also give him like a lot more knowledge of the old world and like kind of how to these fictional stories of how to portray himself as something larger than life.
Yeah.
Which he does and uses to advantage, and it allows him to be leading people the way he does. And being almost like worship, almost on the same level of Morton Joe, but they're two different warlords. They're two different kinds of warlords, right?
Yeah.
And Morton Joe was born to be a warlord, and he is a warlord, and he knows how to work that.
Yeah.
Dementis is not a warlord at his core.
He wants to be loved.
But he wants to be loved. Yeah. So he is a warlord, but in his core he was not actually built for that. He just wants love.
Yeah.
But he's also afraid of that. Like, he's afraid of things keeping him down, including his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, she's not in the picture, the wife ain't in the picture. He was okay with giving up Furiosa. At the end of the day, even if he fights it a little, because deep down he does want that love and companionship, and he does, and it's more of like having the idea of a person, of a daughter, rather than realizing what's going on. There's so many, like, that scene, that whole negotiation scene, it's so there's so many goddamn layers to it. Like, it's so good in this fucking Mad Max movie. Like, in this world where a guy named Morton Joe, Rictus and Erectus are arguing with a dude named Dementis. Like,
I want to ask you about that scene in particular, actually. Like, there's a lot to get into, but I'm curious specifically.
Real quick before you ask that, let me finish the line because I realized I kind of left it hanging. Please. Sorry. And then, so he's empty. He's looking for that love, but he can't commit to anything. He's not good at that.
No,
that's not who he is. He's empty inside. Like, so anything to hold on. So at the end of the day, he gives up Furiosa. And in fact, we start off that scene with him having a gun attached to his nipples.
Yeah.
And when it launches, it rips them out. And again, it's just another thing where it's like, it's playing off that BDSM thing where you're kind of doing pain just to feel something.
Yeah.
That's self-flagellation, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Ian, your question.
The thing I was thinking about is, so he gives Immortan Joe this whole spiel about, how I saved this foundling and her parents were killed by marauders, etc., etc. And then I think it's Immortan Joe says, "Is he your father?" And she finally says, "No." And I think that's her. Unless she has another line in that scene, she doesn't have a lot of lines.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the only thing she says. What's going on in her head? What are you? Is it no? Take me away from this bastard. Is it no? That's just not true.
Is it more like, okay? So is it more vengeful than like tactical?
Right. Exactly.
I want to agree with the latter. Because a lot of this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think Furiosa tends to act very tactically, but go ahead.
See, I would actually argue, I think most of it's fueled by vengeance. Up until she gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not satisfying, which we'll get to in a moment. So I interpreted that scene.
Yeah.
As like, I want to make him hurt.
Yeah.
And this is the way I can have power and I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. The other thing's just a bonus. And Dementis is hurt. Because he's had this idea in his head for so long, and now it's been proven wrong, which is why he takes the fucking teddy bear.
Yeah.
So you're not the innocent thing I thought you were, type deal.
Exactly.
And fuck you for not being and not living to my expectation.
You weren't able to be the thing I fantasized.
Yeah. And that. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that repeats throughout the movie, is what I was
repeats throughout the movie, and that thought is what causes them to make that bad deal. And get fucked over. Is because he is impulsive and he is emotional.
Yeah.
Again, not like Immortan Joe at all. Until the end of Fury Road, where he's had everything taken from him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would argue actually that's a lot more about power than it is about like you can't steal his most prized possessions like that. And he has to do a whole big performance.
That's a whole I absolutely believe that he thinks of them as property.
Absolutely.
It's not any human connection. I don't get the sense that even with his sons he has a human connection of any kind.
Yeah. I don't no. So oh fuck. Sorry, I thought my phone was going off. Yeah, so that's how I interpret that scene, and it just has the adage of her moving on with him.
Yeah.
Which at the time, like, to her, like, fairness, it does seem like a better deal without knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the nightmare fuel happens.
Yeah.
And then
it's
real bad. And you gotta get out of there. And not only do you gotta get out of there, you gotta help other people get out, because, oh my god, they're going through it.
Yeah.
It's so even like the images, like when you see all the women in the place, and it's supposed to be like this weird innocence thing, like an oasis.
Yeah,
like it still comes off as super fucking creepy. Like as you're watching it.
You have to watch, and it's also that we get that shot of her entering with her whites on, with her white clothes on.
Yeah.
And the other women comforting her, and you just think,
because they know what's going on.
You don't need to have anyone say anything. You don't need to have it explained for you. You don't need to be shown anything. Your mind at least me, my mind was immediately, oh god. You know what's happening, and it's horrifying when it kind of hits you. Yeah.
And Miller's good about that. He knows. He knows what you're looking at, like when it's happening.
Yeah.
So then we get if only more Dementis. We get that great scene of what I'm just gonna call, if there's a name for this trope, I'm not sure of it. I'm gonna call it the "party's over" trope, which is, party boy, like, reality set in, man. It's you got a bad deal, your emotions lost it, people are fighting for resources. Change has to happen if you're gonna maintain loyalty.
Yeah.
Because they are not loyal right now.
No.
Which you get that whole great fight sequence, and he is a great fighter, and he is confident enough to make pretty big decisions in the fight that kind of lead him to getting the upper hand. That a lot more people wouldn't take because it's too risky. I'm thinking of specifically hiding in the tower and still moving, and then taking the dude and using him as a shield
so that he could get a shot off on the
bazooka. Get a shot on
what
it.
A
that
cool
works.
Shot.
It was a cool dude. It was dude. This is it was rad. Oh my god, him falling off, holding on while the bullets are falling. That was in the trailer. It looks so fucking good in the movie.
It looks really good.
It looks so fucking good. And then we get into one of my favorite moments for him, which is him capturing Praetorian Jack and Furiosa.
Yeah.
And Praetorian Jack is being dragged along. They're not even doing the drawn and quartered thing. He's just being dragged by bike until he's nothing anymore.
Yeah.
But you never focus on that. You're focused on
The middle of the screen.
Dementis, and kind of
Yeah.
just him not feeling anything. Like this
Yeah.
torture is going on, and he's kind of hoping he'll finally feel something like in the old days.
Yeah.
But it's not. He's still
Yeah.
fucking empty.
Yeah.
Until he finally
Yeah.
ends and he goes, God, I'm calling it off. It's finally night. Everyone's tired. People have been going on. And that's
For
how
hours, you
Furiosa
would
is able
assume.
to escape. Oh, it's gotta be
Yeah.
it's gotta be like half a day.
Yeah.
Like it's gotta be like 6 hours or some shit.
Yeah.
And it's great, man. It's this great moment of acting for Chris Hemsworth. Like just looking like that.
Yeah.
And then that's how Furiosa is able to escape.
Yeah.
And then we get into the revenge hunt for him. That great moment where his tribe has been boiled down to 4 people.
Yeah.
And they all split up. The party's like, even he admits, he says the party's over.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention, like at Gastown, he admits he's not a good leader, which is like a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going so well. They're not happy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not happy. I don't know what's going on. So he admits the party's over. And you get that one great, as he's hunted. Okay, they're hunted down. He escapes with them. Furiosa catches up. And you get the great monologue from him. And a lot of it's just describing how you should be torturing someone as he goes through. And it's all theatrics that he's talking about. He's talking about how to manipulate the people, how to manipulate the audience, how to make something, to his words, just make it look epic.
Make it epic, yeah.
Yeah. Until finally get her picking up the teddy bear. And it was the one thing that for a moment he felt like he had this, he was full, which is the idea that he had a daughter again. Yeah. But again, that was just an idea he had. That's all made up bullshit that he's convinced himself.
And again, that he himself has got bought into because it's nicer. Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes it, and we get into the tree punishment. I think that tree punishment is super like poetic and great. Because again, he's done nothing but ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
For his own bullshit. And now his own fucking dick and balls are turned into a tree, grown to fruit. Yeah. So now he's providing something useful, like practical and useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this character, Ian. Talking about it makes me want to rewatch the movie, because I'm like, the more I thought about that character after the movie, the more I really, really liked him.
It's a really rich performance. There's a lot, and I agree. He's a villain, but he's left you with so much to kind of hold on to. Where it's that, gosh, you're a nuanced human being. There's a lot here.
There's so much here. There's so much, and I like. Oh fuck! I can keep going to it. And I know Nick, who sadly had to kind of go take care of something, so he won't be here for the rest of the podcast. He came out of this movie liking this more than Fury Road, and I can see why.
Wow. Okay.
Because it follows characters way more than Fury Road does.
Mm-hmm.
Our characters really evolve, and Dementis is the highlight of that.
Yeah.
But Furiosa also being a really good evolving character to a logical place, because once she gets vengeance, realizing that she's kind of empty like Dementis is, and vengeance is not going to fill that.
Yeah.
Vengeance isn't what you think it is once you get it. The real thing that's gonna feel the actual good thing to do is to go help the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
To make sure this doesn't happen to anyone again.
Exactly.
What happened to her.
Yeah.
And that's where we get into Fury Road. So I can see Nick's perspective on that, because there's he not only proved to you he can do an action movie and a car chase sequence for 2 hours straight, and it would be one of the best things you've ever watched in your life, but he can write some fucking characters.
He surely can.
Yeah.
He surely, I mean, I think it's a great character study. I agree. I'm thrilled to hear that he liked it even more. That's crazy. Where do you fall on that?
I don't know. I still think I like Fury Road more.
I agree. truthfully.
I think I do.
Now, I'll put it this way. Put it this way because I agree with you. I think that it's better character work.
100%.
But Fury Road, I think, as a movie, is so momentum based.
Yeah.
Just necessarily.
It's relentless in its momentum too. Like,
yes. This movie and
this movie has a lot of pauses.
Well, it's basically an episodic film.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, it's broken up into parts, like told through title screens.
Yeah, and it feels. I honestly, and I say this as a huge, a compliment, and a like. I would have. I think this film, like, I was watching it and I was like, oh, well, this could have been. You add 2 more episodes. This could have been a season of something that I would have watched. Like these really good, satisfying, like little snapshots of young Furiosa, how she developed, how she hid among the war boys, how she, came to be the legend that fought with Mad Max. Yeah, good times.
Which led to credence to that, like, anime development.
Yes.
No, it's still like a tightly written thing. It's a very different movie.
Yeah,
and I feel like Fury Road's a much more of an accomplishment, if that makes sense. In terms of like what I would want out of a movie.
Yes.
And
yes.
Right.
All that to say also, like, when you're comparing to Fury Road, I don't say this lightly, but I mean it's like some of the best filmmaking in the genre.
Yeah,
it's
crazy,
like,
dude.
Yeah.
The way Nick pointed out something, it's like where I'm still saying Fury Road I think is a better movie, or I liked it more.
Yeah.
Which is like Fury Road when it came out rocked my world. Like I thought I had gotten to an age. Like although recently I could say that about some other things too that happened in more recent years. I thought I got to an age where I had gotten past that, right? Where like, okay, what has kind of like carved my taste and all that, or just kind of made me who I am, has already happened.
Yeah.
And that wasn't true at all. There were so many things that came out around that time that was like that changed my view on like art and like what I kind of want out of stories.
Isn't that
what
awesome?
I would want to, and it's Fury and awesome. Fury Road was one of them. Like, it's it's like a reverse Hotline Miami for me right now, where like the sequel is so Fury Road for me would be like 12 on 10. It transcends the genre. It's a piece of art that I think should be talked about forever. Versus Furiosa is a 10 out of 10. It's still the best movie I've seen in a long time. Compared to a lot of things, it's just like it has to follow Fury Road.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And that's its actual curse, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, for folks who loved Furiosa, I would say some of the stuff that carries over 1-to-1 for me is just composition. It's still compositionally ideal. It's beautiful. The colors. I also had a thought while I was sitting there and we were having the Dune face early on. I was like, man, a lot of movies set in the desert I've been watching lately.
Yeah. Deserts are cool.
Yeah,
a lot of people talk shit about deserts, but deserts are cool.
But I don't know. What about you, man? Anything else that you kind of took away from this Furiosa prequel?
So those were all the big ones. The Dementis thing was the real big one. Like, of course, any vengeance movie should show that vengeance, once you get it, is actually this empty chase, and it's not justice.
Yes.
Right? It's not what you actually want. Things.
Yeah.
But there's still like a big feminist like take on this movie.
Yeah.
Which is how much ideas are just forced upon women, even in like the most empty and like distraught of times.
Yeah.
And dudes in power will keep doing that. So it's one of those like, I have multiple ideas of what things are going on, and that's just like good storytelling usually when that happens. But
I mean,
if you come back to me, it's one of those things I'm going to keep mulling over.
Okay.
But those are my two big takes. Sorry, go ahead.
it's definitely a discussion on. It continues kind of a discussion on feminine ideas, feminine roles, and the way that they're kind of foisted on women. I think that the movie also makes a really interesting. Like you said, it's the struggle for resources and organization. That's politics, and the movie kind of has a really grim view that I don't know. I'm kind of agreeant with a lot of the time, which is, yeah, people just kind of gravitate to these ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
They're I mean, they're charismatic and they make people feel safe. And I mean, they keep hitting upon all the reasons why people want to associate with someone like Dementis or someone like Immortan Joe is the world is scary and unstable, and as much of a bastard as these people are, at least they're giving me some stability, something consistent,
They have
something.
power.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, the thing of Immortan Joe. Immortan Joe is the actual politician, like,
Yeah,
and dictator,
yeah,
forced into power, so he knows how to actually work that to his
yeah,
advantage.
yeah.
Dementis is the popular kid you voted for in high school or college to
Yes,
be class president, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
but damn if he's not gonna roll this all the way to
Yeah, but
Congress.
he's gonna
Congress.
ride this
Yeah.
shit all the way through, and you're gonna be worse for it.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's gonna be
Oh yeah.
worse for it. So like,
He's gonna be much worse for it. And
yeah,
well, I think this is an old Dan O'Brien when he was writing about presidents.
yeah,
But there were several generations of American politicians who got there with, friendly affect, a handshake, and drinking a lot in the right
yeah.
rooms. Like, and
Oh
that was
yeah,
it. That was it.
especially
So
in those like early days, man.
yeah, yeah. So
Uh, no,
it's
like the greatest
precedented.
power
Yeah,
is networking, and like if you
yeah,
can get people to like you. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was our takeaways.
No,
Time
yeah.
for the denouement. What would you
All right.
recommend to everyone?
Let's see. Do you
Just
have a
go watch
recommend?
Fury Road again.
Logan?
How about that? That's my fucking thing.
Yeah. Go back and rewatch that one as a follow up, and enjoy it as one movie,
Yeah,
one 6 hour
yeah.
movie.
It would be like 5.5 hours to say.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
what would you recommend, Ian?
what would I recommend? Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something I haven't recommended that's related.
Hmm.
So I'm going to recommend. Oh, you know what? I've got the perfect one.
Go.
Stephen King just put out a new collection of short stories.
I saw that.
It's called "You Like It Darker,"
Mhm.
and he's got a story in there that I believe is kind of a continuation from Trucks from 1982. So Trucks from 1982 is a story about trucks that move on their own and kill everybody.
That
He
was
was
sick.
really banging out the creative gems in the 80s.
Listen, man, he cranks them out,
Yeah.
and he'll forever be better than us just because.
That's the infuriating part. It could be the laziest idea, and it's still like well done.
Yeah,
He knows what he's doing.
he knows what he's doing. Well, fucking, who are we to criticize? Like,
Oh, have you sold 8 million copies
no,
worldwide?
no.
Uh, you know,
You put one out a month, and you're like, shit, man, fucking, I'm lucky, but I still technically haven't finished a book.
have
Like,
you ever, I don't know, find yourself in a near life or death situation and been like, but how do I get a pen in the hospital? I
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
I gotta finish a few more. That shit freaks me. Like he finished like 3 books in that
Oh yeah.
recovery period. That's wild.
That's
Wild. I would
wild.
I would quit writing for 3 years if I was run over by a van. I
Oh, got it.
anyway.
Putting
Yeah.
that away. Filing
You
that
like it,
away just for
Darker.
future. But
Uh,
yeah, recommend Fury
yeah,
Road. Go watch the rest of the Mad Max series. Honestly, I think that first one
yeah,
is the weakest one, but
yeah,
uh, every like they're all good.
yeah.
Like they're all George Miller's passion project. The things he's obsessed with.
Yes.
Right. I would argue Happy Feet 2 and Baby in the Big City were so he can make money to make Fury Road.
They do have consistent themes, guys.
They
you
do.
Should,
It's
apparently so.
It's weird.
Throughout.
A lot of nature.
Yeah, a lot of nature.
All right, and that'll do it. Yeah. So next podcast is going to be Fast 5.
Yes,
and after that, we got to discuss it. But me and Nick have an idea. I'm gonna run by you, Ian.
Okay.
And then I gotta start getting on making announcements early on. But the next one is going to be Fast 5. The year of cars continue.
Vroom vroom, everyone.
Vroom vroom.
Vroom vroom.
All right, bye.
Bye.